It's day 177.
Of the 29th year and beyond.
And yesterday we talked about housing situations. You know, if two people are preparing to get married and they each have a house, a place where they have resided, and how to deal with that. And I mean, we talked about a lot in that brief blog yesterday. But there's so much to consider. And first and foremost, I guess the main thing is this is not a conversation that you want to have the day of your wedding.
No, not even the week.
Or after your wedding. This topic is one of those of the many that you need to have before the I do's, because you may find and discover, I don't want to give up my property,
right.
Or I'm not willing to compromise, and then you have a different conversation that you have to have all together. We talked about the fact that when there is a your place and a my place, and if I move into your place and you move into my place, how territorial that can be for some folks. Or if this is not your first marriage and there are kids involved, whether we're talking about adult children or actual little children, but memories and what the previous spouse may have done, and sacred spaces and things that are really meaningful for children, because children can be very territorial too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if a previous spouse is involved, or grandma's house, or whatever. When someone else comes in and starts changing things or redecorating, it can get very volatile really quickly.
Because it can be unsettling for a child, and believe it or not, even if the child is not a child, still they can be very territorial about their spaces and their customs and all of that kind of stuff. So, when you're talking about coming together in a blended situation where there are dual households, and if there are other persons that are coming along into this marriage, i.e. you have children or she has children, or whatever the case may be, blended families require a lot more preparation and time of communication on how we're going to do what we're going to do, and how do we deal with our offspring, be they children, young adults, or adults. If there's drama that they bring into the equation, yes. Where do you stand on that? How do you address that with your children in a way that you, as this new family coming together, can move forward in a healthy and clear way?
Yeah, you have to really have the conversation with them about, one, who this person is to you and what they mean to you. But the bottom line is, this is a decision that you have to make yourself. And allowing your children to sort of browbeat you or guilt you into doing one thing or another is not a good thing, because eventually there will be some resentment one way or another. You want to consider their feelings, but you also have to realize that ultimately the decision has to be yours.
But with that said, it's easier to be mindful of, like, teenage or adult children, to kind of address it and move on, right, regardless of whether they're on board or not, as opposed to little ones.
Yeah.
However, you have to determine what you're willing to sacrifice in the relationships with your offspring, as opposed to your new spouse.
Right.
Because, I mean, the reality, as Gail said, ultimately you have to decide what you want to do. You can do the best job of making your children aware of how much this person means to you, and your love for them does not diminish your love for your children. And, mommy or daddy, whatever the situation, they're not coming back. So if you're holding on to that, that's just not going to be the reality, right, whether I'm with this person or not. I mean, it just gets to be so much, but you have to, I think it's wisdom to make certain that you address all of this and then determine, how will I be able to move forward in this new relationship, or will I be able to move forward in in this new relationship based upon the previous relationships.
Yeah.
A lot to consider. And that's why you don't have these conversations after the wedding, the day of the wedding,
Or
the
even
day before the
or
wedding.
even the week of the wedding.
Right. These are some of the major pieces that you have to address before you send out the invitations, before you say, yes, we're going to do this, because these are major pieces. Until tomorrow, if the Lord says the same.
Bye.